Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today we're going on an underwater adventure. We're going to be seeing all sorts of creatures like squids or octopus or octopi, whatever you call them. All sorts of sea animals. We're going to be seeing sharks. We're going to be trying to avoid those crazy sharks from eating us. Let's talk about Poseidon's Kingdom here. This is a huge box, heavy, from GameSalute. This is a reprint of a 2011 title from Fragor Games, and GameSalute reprinted this on a Kickstarter, and man, did they update a lot of the stuff, the artwork and things like that, and it's back in print. So let's take a look. This is a family level game from 2 to 4 players, plays in about 45-ish minutes. Let's take a look. Now check out the gorgeous components. We got dolphins, we got seashells, we've got octopi or octopus, we've got some nice little blue fish, we've got some gorgeous orange starfish, and of course we have the shark. And you also have this amazing huge dice wave that will be flipping over and flipping dice all onto the board. Lots of components, huge boards, multiple boards, lots of things here at the beginning of the game. In this case, we have a 4-player game, and each player is one of these figures. Now, over the course of the game, what you're trying to do is score points by freeing your guy from one of the 6 tentacle legs. For example, this player, each player has one of their little friends that matches what they look like on each of the 6 tentacles. And what you're trying to do over the course of the game is save all 6 of your guys, and once you do that, that will trigger the end of the game. And as you score those, you will be scoring points. Now, the points of these start high and they go lower. So 4, 3, 2, 1. This is a 4-player game, or 8, 6, 4, 2, and so on and so forth. So that's what you're trying to do, is get all those free to end the game and get lots of points. Now the main board will start with some dice on there, and we will have a board for 3 to 4 players, and you flip it over, it's for 2 players. And each player starts with 10 dice of their color. Many of them are on the big wave or already on the board to start the game, and they each get a reef. There's a certain amount of reefs depending on how many players, and you can lay them out any way you like. This is just normal reef, and this is where you can store a die for later. Let's talk about how a turn works. On your turn, you do one of 2 things at the beginning. You either place a die on the big wave. You'll see there's numbers 2s and 4 because this side is used for 2 or 4 players. 2 players just use the 2s, 4 you use all the squares. So you might just place a die, take one of your dice, and place it anywhere on here. That might be one of the things you do to start your turn. When that gets full, it will tip over. We'll go over that later. And after that, you can move either of your 2 creatures up to 1 space by default. Now I'm the orange guy, which is the starfish. Everyone starts with 1 guy down here, 1 guy up here, there's a shark here. So I can move any of my guys 1 spot. So in this case, I can take this guy and move him either here or here. Or I can take this guy and move him here or here. And you tend to move up around like this, one at a time here. And if you're on a spot like this, you could actually move over there for 1. Or if you're here, you can move over here for 1. So let's say this guy moved here. Now notice he's in a small wave that has a die there. Now these dice are food, and if there's multiple dice, he can choose which one he wants to take. At the beginning of the game, you can only take 1 die, so he'll take this only 1. And notice it's an opponent's color, that's green. And since I have a spot to store it, I can put it right there, and I'm storing that food for later. That's sort of energy building up in me. Now because I used the green player's die and it kind of used his food, he gets to move clockwise on this Kraken track, 1 for each die of his that I chose. So he gets to move like this. Now if he was here and I took a blue guy's die, this guy would go, but you always jump over to the next spot. Well, why is this important? Because ordering of when you jump and when people go is important, because this guy jumps here. If I would have taken 2 of his dice, he would have moved twice. He would have moved once here, and then a second time he hops over here, and you have to always stop at the head of the Kraken. The cool thing is for them, it's good because when you get to the head of the Kraken, first of all, your closest clockwise little friend that's still there, you automatically save him. So you take this guy and you take the top points here, which is 3, and you get to put it in front of you. So the green player already got 3 points. He flips it over so nobody can see it, and he puts this guy there. He's already 1/6 to the end of the game because you helped him out. Now, in addition to that, taking their best little friend. They also get to peek at one of these coral tiles. This is for endgame bonuses. Also note that this is the only space around the Kraken that more than one person can have. Now you can see that there's different coral here. They would get to peek at one of these. This will tell him, I'll show you these later, what an end goal is if he gets this one at the end of the game. And they're numbered 3 through 10. It's just a peek at maybe a long-term strategy goal. And that's it. You placed the die, you moved your guy, you did something with the dice, and now you look at this. This says shark moves 1. So the shark will move 1. The first time in the game, you pick which direction he goes, and that's that. The shark will always move in a direction that he's facing. Now, because anytime the shark crosses one of those dice, we add a neutral die to the big wave here, anywhere you want, and those neutral dice are the white ones. Now, the way the shark moves is he's always going to move this way, and then when he hits this thing, see the shark, he has to come down here and continue moving this way. So he goes in a big figure 8 in the same direction, and I'll show you when his direction changes. So that would be the end of my turn. This guy would have ended here, and it would have been the next player's turn. So let's just pretend it's my turn again, or so I can talk about the different actions. Now, instead of placing a die at the beginning of my turn on top of that big wave, you can add something to your reef. Now, there's 5 different types of reef tiles here. They're all the same in each stack here, and so what these show, there's less of these than these. These ones are the dice storage, which you already saw. These ones can affect how many dice you can put on the big wave. This affects how many dice you can actually eat at a time, and this affects how much you can move. So for example, let's take this one. Now when you place a new reef, you can do so on the first level, just like this. As long as it's touching even just one part of your reef, you're good. You cannot place it so it's overhanging, and you cannot place it on top of an exact tile, but you can place it on 2 different tiles like this. And this is important because this is level 1 and this is level 2. What this means is that now that I have a movement on level 2, when I move my single creature per turn, I can now move them up to 2 spots, 1 or 2. If later on, some more tiles came out, let's just say, you know, this was here on a subsequent turn, because you're only placing one of these at the beginning of each turn. But let's say it was like that, and then later on, it went like this. Now, even though this is on a 2, it doesn't really do any good, it doesn't matter. This one's on 3, so now I can move any single creature up to 3. So whatever level you're on, that's how much you can do, but everything's a default 1 at the beginning of the game. So now that I've got to move up to 2, I can move this starfish here. Now I have a lot of choices of which die to eat. Now again, I would have gotten this later on in a subsequent turn, but let's say it was a few turns in and I had this. This dies on the second level. I could take 2 dice. So in this case, I'm going to take the 4 and the 5 here. Now in this case, I could either store these for a later turn, or I can eat any amount of these together. So in this case, I'm going to take the 4 and 5 that I just got and the 6 that I stored earlier, and I'm going to eat them. And I have 4, 5, and 6. That is any 3 in a row. It shows 2, 3, 4, but it's any 3 in a row, 4, 5, 6. So I can take this and my starfish guy, and I get 5 points. So those 5 points goes there, and I get to just put that there. That shows me that I've got one of my guys. And these dice that I use go back to those people, and the neutral one goes back into the neutral pile. Of course, those guys get to move 1 because I took 1 dice, and I get to say which order they are. In this case, it doesn't matter, but sometimes it will. So green went 1. And blue went 1. Now again, that just matters once they get back here, they can take their first guy clockwise off. Now it's time to move the shark 2. Here comes the shark. Boom. And if the shark runs into anybody, he continues to move the amount he's supposed to, and anybody he passes through or ends on gets eaten. When this guy gets eaten, it's okay. He just starts again. I can either put him at the top of the deep age up here, or I can put him down on the beach with everybody else to start. And then I must take one of these skeleton tokens and place it on any one of my open reefs. It can be, I can block some of these spots, but in this case, I'd block that one. So you start to get blocked during that. And as you can see, the different things you're trying to get are 7, any numbers that add up to 7, a low double, meaning double 1s, double 2s, double 3s, a high double, double 4s, double 5s, double 6s. We just got 3 in a row, 3 of a kind of any type, or any 4 different. And those are the types of combinations that you're going for in the game. So let's say at the beginning of your next turn, you place a die. Whoever places the last die gets to spill this wave, and all these dice are going to come crashing down on the board. Here's what this might look like from the board level. Here's how this might look like from a bird's eye view. You can see some of the dice spill off. If they do come off, that die ends up getting back on here. If any dice are touching the next wave, they all get moved down into that wave, and then everything gets kind of sort of centered. So this one's touching, and now this gets touching here, and now everything gets centered so you can see what is what. Now, you add up the dice value for every player. So in this case for orange, I have 4, 5, 6, 10, 15, 21, 22, 23, 27. That's actually huge. So you get a bonus depending on this. If you're 3 or above, you can add 1 die to the wave. 7 or above, you add 2. If you're 12 plus, you get to go twice clockwise on that Kraken board, and you get to peek at one of those endgame bonuses. If you're on 16 or more, you can get rid of all of the skeletons on your reef, and you get to peek at one of those endgame bonuses. If you're 19 plus, you get to take your one of your little friends off the Kraken, and if you have 23 plus, you get this new creature, the dolphin, who's new for this version. Essentially, until this wave crashes again, you're safe from the sharks. And once that big wave comes, this guy spins around and starts going the other way, so you better plan for it. So that's how the game works, and you keep going until one player has gotten their all 6 people friends off, and then that starts the end game. These get removed, everybody else gets removed from this board, and we have one more turn, and then you have a chance to buy these players like that in turn order. So there's 5 unique ones, which basically these are the endgame scoring. So when you peek at one of these, you might have seen Rave Water. You get 1 point at the end of the game for every one of those on your reef that you can see. And same for the dice, and same for the movement. This one's a little different. You get 3 points if you have no skeletons, or if you have skeletons, it's -1 per skeleton. There's also one Poseidon's Trident, which basically you can mimic any of the other bonuses if you have that. So earlier when you're peeking, you're looking at this and you're saying, oh, okay, I know this is in the 8 spot, so I'm going to grab that at the end of the game and get a bunch of these. So how that works is, again, everyone gets 1 turn after the last player's done that, and they better get some dice stored, because right now, let's say I have a 4, a 3, and a 1. Now, let's say I'm the first player to buy. Now, I could take my 4 and 3 and buy the 7, and I could take the 1 and do nothing with it. Or I could take the 4 and the 1 and buy the 5. I could take all 3 of them and grab the 8. So sometimes it's best if you can get 2 of these things. But basically, now that you know what you looked at, you're trying to plan for that, getting the dice to buy those, and that would be that. And at the end of the game, you're simply adding up all of these tokens that you had gotten throughout the game, and you're adding it to the special bonus. In this case, I have 1 of these, so that would just be 1 point there. But of course, usually a reef's a lot bigger than at the end of the game, and then whoever has the most points at the end is the winner. Okay, wow. First of all, components and artwork. Now, the components themselves, actually, the Starfish and stuff, it looks like it's pretty much the same as it was in the original game, but to get this thing reprinted is awesome, because it wasn't available anywhere. They were selling for like $200, because it's such a unique game with those components. The artwork, I think the artwork's a lot better in this new version. The boards look better. The box looks better. That board, this takes up a huge amount of table space. Between the large board and that Kraken board, which appears smaller in videos, it's actually pretty big. So the components and the artwork, it's totally top quality. Game Salute knocked it out of the park. This box feels as heavy as like the Nothing Personal box. So components wise, and also those reef tiles that you get, they are thick. I mean, they are chunky. These are excellent, excellent components. Now, how about the gameplay itself? It says it's a family game. Now, is it good for entry-level gamers? Is this like something you want to play with the younger children? I'd say probably not. It says 12 plus. I'd say that's probably about accurate. If you have families or kids, if they play games like Ticket to Ride and things like that, they'll probably be able to play this. There might be a little bit more going on here. If it's like you're trying to introduce new people to a game because it's so cute and you want them to play, this might not be the best game for that, because even though it's simple, you're just literally moving your character, getting a dice, and you're collecting like Yahtzee type things to get things. I mean, when you just say what the game is, it sounds super simple. I feel the same way as I did with this as I did with New York 1901, which is a very popular family style game that came out earlier this year and made such a big splash. And my thing about that is the same thing with this is, yes, it's a family level game, but this is one of those games where even though the mechanics are simple, what you're trying to do is simple. A lot of your decisions that you make during the game, especially the ones that you make first, do I put a die or do I do a reef? Which reef? What should I do? Should I cover one? There's decisions that get made that you don't really fully realize whether you made the right decisions until after you've played an entire game.
And so you get to the end and you go, like at the beginning, you're like, okay, I'm gonna do this. I don't know why I'm doing it. I don't know how it's gonna react or how it's gonna enact what happens in the future. Let's just try this. So the first game, if you go into this thinking, I'm just gonna try a bunch of these simple things and see what happens, and then have this be a learning game. And then after that, we can actually start learning and trying to build some strategies and stuff. Perfect, this game is great for that. But don't play it expecting that someone who doesn't play a lot of games, because of the cuteness, you can bring them in and just say, hey, let's play this, because they're gonna be lost. They're gonna be like, well, why would I do this? Why would I do that? So it's not an entry-level game. I'd say it's like a Gateway Plus or a next step game. If they've played Ticket to Ride, Carcassonne, then get into this and they'll probably be able to make that next step. Again, it's not a hard, difficult, deep game. It's just, it's not apparent as to what you should do. And with new players, you really want them to get to the fun as fast as possible. With that being said, if you play a lot of games, if you're a gamer, if you're in that next step phase, it's a fun game. It's not like the best game on earth, but it's fun. And I tell you what, the components and the art quality, a lot of people try to pull that out and say, okay, well, if those things were removed and it was just little tokens, would you keep it? Would you buy it? Would it be worth it? It's hard to say. I don't say I would think this is an excellent game without all those. But you can't take those out because those are part of the game. So as a package, the cool wave that is, well, that's a gimmick. Well, yeah, but it still makes the game a heck of a lot more fun, right? And that's what we're here for, fun. So when you add the wave crashing the dice down, and you add those big chunky components, and you add the nice artwork, and you put it together with a game that's fun, you're trying to get Yahtzee style, it's not too deep, it's still fun, and it's still a good family level game. So I can recommend it. I really do like it. I think multiple plays of this will give you, you'll like it more and more the more you play it after you see the nuances of placing dice versus building reefs as to when to, build over things. So it's a good family level game. Don't expect it to be like the best game ever, but it is a actually solid game. And the quality of these components and the fun of just seeing these and moving these around the board heightens the game. So the sum of the parts is definitely better than just the game itself. You put it all together and it's an excellent package, really fun. That's Poseidon's Kingdom.